So,
is there anyone who's done something quite different with the role, or who appears quite different, and yet in your mind you thought, well, that's not how I saw it, but I maybe even prefer it?
well, there are certainly a number of actors who are, the show character differs from the book character. And some of it is due to the way the actor is portraying them, and some of it is due to the script changes and the way David and Dan and the other writers, including myself, are writing some of those parts. I think the show's version of Renly is somewhat different than my version of Renly. Probably the one that was most striking was Natalia Tena as the character of Osha. I met her for the first time last night. She's here she came up and
she's great, isn't she? She's mad but great.
She's wonderful, yes. And her Osha is actually a far more interesting character than my Osha.
Yeah.
The character in the book fulfills a certain function, but never mesmerized or made you just want to watch this character and learn more about this character and see more scenes with this character the way that Natalia does when she plays that role on screen. So when I bring Osha back in the future books, I'm probably going to have to make her more interesting than I have done previously.
Do you think when the TV show deviates from the books, do you think your fans think that's a personal insult to you and your work?
Well, I think there are a lot of fans, and you get all ends of the spectrum. There are some who understand it perfectly well, yeah, but there are always the purists who react very negatively to any deviation from the text, and that in some ways I have a certain affection for the purists because their passion and love for the books is unquestioned.
Yeah.
But some of them do get a little obsessive about it. I mean, had dinner last night with Miltos, who played Serial Pharrell. And we were talking about how a certain element of the fan base went crazy when he was cast because he has hair, and Serial is bald, and in the books it is, they've ruined it. Serial has hair. We can't go with that. But he has gorgeous looking hair, and it wasn't important that he was bald. There was no plot point that turned on the necessity of his baldness.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that kind of change is incidental. So.
Of course, we never actually see him die. Would you bring him back for me? Because I loved him so much. There must be a mechanism to bring him back.
I'll take that under consideration. Miltos would like that too.
Yeah, I'm sure he would.
Yes.
And the final thing that I must ask you about, here in the UK, it is illegal to support both Manchester United and Manchester City, and yet you are a fan of both the New York Jets and the Giants. How can you justify that?
By my extreme age. I was born and grew up as a fan of the New York Football Giants. In the 50s, they were the New York's team in the National Football League, the NFL. But in the early 60s, a new league started, the American Football League, the AFL. They were completely unconnected with the NFL. They were a rival league that never played each other. And the New York team, which initially was called the Titans, and I didn't care much about them, but then they changed their name to the Jets, and they got this quarterback out of Alabama named Joe Namath, Broadway Joe. Young, long-haired quarterback, wore mink coats on the sidelines, and he was a very appealing figure. So I started following the AFL as well as the NFL and rooting for Broadway Joe. And and I had two teams. I had one team in the NFL, and I had one team in the AFL. And that was fine. But then the two leagues merged. So what was I going to do? Drop one team or another? I couldn't do that. I loved them both. So I do have my moments of when they play each other.
Where's your allegiance line?
Yeah, I just root for a good game with no injuries here.
Very diplomatic. Well, thank you so much for talking to us.
My pleasure. Thank you.